Good morning, afternoon, and evening, guys. We're back with a random tier list. Today we are diving back into the wonderful world of Pokemon Legends Arceus, talking about the best Pokemon to use in the game, and as you guys can see, we have a lot of them to do. Let's make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see that. Well, that doesn't really make it much bigger, but we have a lot of Pokemon to get through, so we're going to go ahead and start talking about these. A lot of this info I got from rankedboost.com, which I will link in the description down below. I have fully beaten Arceus, but there are a few Pokemon that I have not used as much as I maybe would have liked to. And I do want to take a kind of a competitive look at some of these Pokemon, talk about how good they are in terms of the moves they have, their stats, stuff like that. So I have take Rank Boost into account. They have a lot of great resources to seeing how good Pokemon are. And that's how we're going to be ranking them today. We're going to rank them on a scale of S through F. Just simple letter rankings today, talking about how good the Pokemon is. And if you cannot predict this, a lot of the pre-evolved Pokemon will be a lot further down than their evolved forms, but obviously once those Pokemon evolve, they probably are going to get a lot better. Also, one way I might differ in my rankings than how Rank Boost does them is I might, if a Pokemon is available very early on and it's going to really help you get through a certain portion of the game, I may put that Pokemon a little bit higher up because it is going to be a good option for a playthrough of Pokemon Legends Arceus. Because you get it so early, and it's a good typing or whatever, that would really help you. So, with all that said, guys, we are going to go ahead and get into it. If you like stupid long tier lists like this, leave a like on the channel and subscribe and do all that other stuff that, YouTubers like you to do. And we're going to go ahead and get rolling. We're starting off with Pikachu here. And I'm sorry, Pikachu fans. Pikachu ain't that good. Pikachu is honestly going to be an F tier mon. Yeah, not a lot going for Pikachu. I think I'm going to go ahead and add another tier list. I know I just said what we were going to have, but I need a new tier because Pikachu, yes, is an F tier, but there are Pokemon that are worse than Pikachu. So we're going to have an F- tier, and we're not going to use that yet, but we're going to leave Pikachu there in F tier. It just doesn't have a lot going for it. It doesn't have a lot of different moves to use. It's only electric type. Not really going to be that useful. Once it evolves into Raichu, it's going to be a little bit better. Raichu is going to be a C tier Pokemon. Next up, we have Clefairy and its evolved form Clefable. Now, note that this tier list I'm using is going in the original Pokedex order, which is why we are starting with Cantonian Pokemon, and then we're going to get into the Joetonian and all the rest of the Pokemon. So that's why we don't see Pichu yet. We will get down to Pichu down here. Clefairy is going to be in F tier, and Clefable is going to be in C tier. I think Clefairy and Clefable are better than Pikachu and Raichu, but they are very, very similar. The difference, though, being that Fairy type, I think Fairy is going to be a better type than Electric overall, and I think Clefable in general is going to get better moves than Raichu. I know it has a much wider move pool, so despite it still not being anything to write home about, I think it probably is better than Raichu to have on a team. We have Vulpix and Ninetales. I think Vulpix and Ninetales would probably be better than Clefairy. I think they have a little bit more power to them. And I just really like Alolan Vulpix. Now, you can only get one in the game, which is unfortunate. But I think it is a really good Pokemon to have. Once you evolve them into Ninetales, they're going to go all the way up to B tier. I think that Ninetales in its Alola form is actually even better than its Cantonian form because that Ice Fairy type is going to be so good for taking out dragons and for taking out some other really, really strong Pokemon. So B tier for the Ninetales, our first entry into that tier. Zubat's going to be F tier. I think I would rather even have a Pikachu than a Zubat. And Golbat is going to be probably up here into C tier, same type of thing here. I probably would rather have a Raichu than a Golbat. Nothing really there to write home about, honestly. Crobat will be a little bit higher up our list. But we'll get to that in Gen 2. Next up, we have one of the worst Pokemon of all time. We have Paris. I think Paris is going to be our first entry into the F- tier. It's not the worst Pokemon on the planet. There will be Pokemon underneath it in this tier. But because it is grass and bug, it just has a lot of weaknesses. And not a lot to write home about. Also, this thing is so annoying when you're running around. It makes you just not want to use one. Its evolved form is not that much better. Its evolved form is going to be our first entry into the D tier. Paris does have Spore, which is a very interesting move, but it doesn't really have a lot else going for it. It's traditionally been a horrible Pokemon competitively, though there was one time that it was very, very good, and that was as a counter to Kyogre, which is hilarious, and I encourage you to look that up if you're interested. The time that Paris was actually meta. But for the most part, D tier. That's pretty much where it goes. Psyduck, we're going to be putting in F tier. It's not that great, pre-evolve Pokemon at all. It probably is better than Clefairy. I think it's along the same tier as Vulpix. I think it's even going to end up between the Vulpix, because I do think it has more moves than Fire Vulpix does. Cantonian Vulpix here really only has fire moves, whereas I believe Alolan Vulpix gets more, right? Because it's part Fairy type, or it gets the Fairy type when it evolves. I'm not sure, but I think same thing up here in B tier. Golduck's going to be put right in the middle of those Ninetales, just because it does have those psychic moves to help it out with. Next up, we have Growlithe. I think Growlithe is going to be in F tier, but just barely. In fact, I might even move it up here to D tier. I think it definitely has more going for it. It's more powerful than these Pokemon here in F tier. And it honestly would probably even give Paris a run for its money, or Parasect a run for its money. So yeah, I think D tier is actually pretty good there. Arcanine, B tier? I can B tier for Arcanine. Because it has the new rock typing, which is pretty good for it. It's not the greatest combination on the planet, but it's a very interesting combination. And it allows you to hit a lot of stuff. Looking at some of its stats right now, 555 base stat total is actually really high. Really high attack, good speed. This Pokemon actually blows out everything we talked about out of the water. I might lower it down to A tier, but so far from what we've seen, this might actually be an S tier Pokemon. Which is wild that it's going to jump up so much. But I'm just looking at how much stronger... I mean, this Pokemon has a 555 base stat total, which is higher than Drapion, that's higher than Octillery, that's higher than even, like, Dusknoir. It's even higher than, like, the starters, like Empoleon. It is higher than that. It's higher than Basculegion. It's higher than Ninetales. It's higher than Magmortar, Magnezone. It's going to be one of the highest Pokemon in the game. I mean, it's not that much lower than Garchomp. So, yeah, okay. That's why sometimes you got to look at stats. I have not used Arcanine that much, but now I really want to, because this thing looks like a powerhouse. Speaking of powerhouses, Abra is not one. Abra is going to be an F-tier Pokemon. In fact, does Abra even learn any moves before evolving? Depending on the game, sometimes it only knows Teleport, which is quite obnoxious to play with. We're probably just going to leave it here in the F tier. Let's put it down in F-. It's better than Paris, but we'll put it in F- tier, because I just don't think it has that much going for it. Once it evolves, it does become better. Cadabra is going to be a better Pokemon, probably, than Growlithe. And, yeah, Cadabra is easily going to be better than Parasect 2. I think Cadabra could probably even give... I could probably give Golduck a run for its money. Would I rather have a Cadabra or a Pikachu? Alright, I'm sorry, Raichu? It's a good question. Let's look at it. Let's compare. Cadabra has 400 base stat. Ooh, Raichu's a lot stronger than it, actually. 485. And we are taking a look now for... Let's look at Golbat. Where's Golbat at? So we have 400 for Cadabra, 485 for Raichu. And we're going to take a look here at Golbat, which I don't think is that high. I think it's like 380 or something like that. Oh, it's 455. Okay, so I am overhyping Cadabra, I think. You know what it probably is I played with Cadabra back in Generation 2, and it was a monster in Gold, Silver, and Crystal. But the game's changed a lot since then, and now Cadabra is much easier to evolve. And once you do evolve it into Alakazam, it's going to be a fantastic Pokemon. Cadabra is going to be Alakazam is going to be one of the best Pokemon to use in the game. And here's one thing I really disagree with Rank Boost about it. They put Cadabra down here in B tier. I think Cadabra is an S tier Pokemon. I'm skipping the A tier completely here, because it has a base stat total of 50. Or, I'm sorry, of 500. but it has a 135 special attack and a 120 speed. This thing is a glass cannon, and it can learn a wide variety of moves. It can fit in any role you need on your team. Do yourself a favor and add an Alakazam to your team. You will thank me. If you can fit it. But it's a fantastic Pokemon. I definitely think it deserves to be higher than B tier. So that is going to be one of the major differences. Like I said, I'm not going straight by what rank boost had, but I am using it to help with visualizing. All right, continuing on here, guys, we have Machop. Machop's going to be an F tier Pokemon. Early on, a lot of these Pokemon, especially the 3-stage ones, will be. As to where it goes, probably would rather have Clefable. Probably does have more coverage, but honestly, this is kind of just a bag of you haven't evolved your Pokemon yet. Now, Machoke is going to go here in D tier. I think it's probably better to have a Growlithe than a Machoke, I'm thinking, despite the fact that Machoke's actually already evolved. And it does have a good attack stat, but I think Growlithe is just going to be a better option for you, as long as you don't already have a Fire-type Pokemon on your team. Despite being a first-form Pokemon, it's just so powerful. But it does have a difference in base stats. I guess it can go up. It's very close, in my opinion. This one is about 50 points stronger in everything together, but I think this one would offer you better moves, so I could understand somebody taking one or the other there. Machamp is going to be probably a B-tier Pokemon. It does have a lot of different moves it can know. It can learn like every single different type of punch, for example. So I'm going to put it here in B-tier. I am going to keep it underneath Alolan Ninetales, though, just because that is such a good Pokemon with its typing. Tentacruel, I think, is probably, again, an F-tier Pokemon, like a lot of these pre-evolved Pokemon are. I'm assuming it's better than Pikachu. I'm assuming it's better than Machop. I'll go ahead and leave it there. Tentacruel, on the other hand, I think is B-tier, and I think it is the best B-tier Pokemon that we've seen so far. It's definitely better than Golduck. It offers you the same water-type moves, and it offers a lot of other different types of moves. I think it does have more coverage than Golduck. Golduck does have some psychic moves, but Tentacruel has the poison moves, which on a Pokemon, I'm thinking like, okay, so it has water and poison. Poison is going to be really effective in hitting those fairy types, which are in this game now. So maybe it's underneath Ninetales, but it's something like that. I know it has a higher base stat total than Ninetales at the very least. I just think Ninetales with the fairy type is so good. Next up, we got Geodude. Another one of these 3 stage, levels. 3. What am I trying to say here? It evolves twice. Geodude, down here in F tier. It's 4 times weak to water and grass. Need I say more? It's pretty, it has a good attack stat, but I'm tempted even to put it lower, just because it is so weak on those fronts. It is probably better than a Zubat, right? Probably. I don't know that for certain, though, that it's better than Zubat. Graveler is strong, and I used a Graveler on my Gen 2 team, too. The same team I used Alakazam on. And it is very strong, but again, that 4 times weakness. It's weak to, it seems like, everything. So I am going to have to drop it down here into D tier. Probably, honestly, even under the Growlithe. I think it's not even as good as Machoke or Growlithe. Definitely not as good as Cadabra. And then Golem here, I think, is just going to be a C tier Pokemon. I'll put it at the top of C tier, but I think it's going to be one of the weakest fully evolved Pokemons that we've seen so far. Next up, Ponyta we are looking at. Now, Ponyta, I would love to put in S tier because you do get a shiny one for free in the game. If you didn't know that, go do the side missions. There is one that you get for absolutely free, which is one of the only times in the games they've done that. A free shiny Pokemon. So, that's cool. I think Ponyta is probably going to end up in our D tier. I'm trying to consider. I think it's probably going to be right here. Bottom of D tier. I think it is better than a lot of those pre-evolved Pokemon that we see in the F tier. Similar to a Growlithe situation, I do think Growlithe is better than it. But just taking a look at Ponyta, I think, yeah, D tier is going to be appropriate for it. Taking a look at Rapidash, it is definitely going to be B tier Pokemon. It's definitely going to have more power. Well, I don't know about definitely. I was going to say it definitely has more power than Ninetales. But I actually think they're pretty close, now that I consider. I do think it has more coverage than Ninetales. I think it has some different types of moves. I know Rapidash can learn, I think, some rock and ground moves. Could be wrong about that. I think it's B tier Pokemon in any case. Probably right there with Golduck, Machamp. I mean, this is kind of a B tier is kind of like take your pick. These are all good Pokemon if you need that type. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put it there into the B tier. And the more I kind of consider that difference here, Ponyta is a lot better than Vulpix. And I think it is better than Graveler because of that 4 times weakness that Graveler has. So I think Ponyta is going to be kind of right there with Growlithe. Next up, we have Magnemite. Magnemite is a Steel type, so that is pretty cool. So it's going to be one of the better F-tier Pokemon, but F-tier nonetheless, just given its low stats and everything. Magneton is going to probably be a C tier. I would definitely rather use it than a Raichu. And probably more than a Clefable, despite the fact it not being fully evolved. It originally was a fully evolved Pokemon, of course. So that benefits it. So it's going to be a C tier Pokemon for me. Next up, Ghastly. Ghastly is one of the best pre-evolved Pokemon ever. But that said, I think it does still end up in the F tier. Probably right there on the similar level as Alolan, Vulpix, and Magneton. Magnemite. Lots of names we're throwing out here. I'm going to have to get a drink of water at some point soon. Haunter is going to be better than it, obviously, being the evolved form, but Haunter's stats are not anything too crazy. I think it's going to be near the bottom of C tier, probably better than Golbat, but not much better, but probably right around there. And I think Gengar is an A tier Pokemon. This is another situation similar to Alakazam, where I am a little bit higher on Gengar than Ranked Boost is. I think Gengar has such a wide variety of moves, and the ease that you can get Gengar and the other trait evolutions now using the linking cord, I think is an awesome opportunity to use this Pokemon on your team. I think it's going to offer a lot. As long as you don't pick... If you pick Cyndaquil, then maybe don't pick Gengar, because you're going to have 2 Ghost on your team. But as long as you need a Ghost Poison type, I think it's going to be a great option. Onyx is next. And let's face it, as much as we want Onyx to be a better Pokemon, it's just not that good, right? It's just not that good. I'm going to put it in D tier at the very bottom. It's not as good as Graveler. I don't know that it necessarily belongs all the way down in F tier, but it's not as good as Graveler. So we'll go ahead and leave it there. Voltorb and Electrode. Now, Ranked Boost has Voltorb as more of a bottom tier Pokemon. I actually think it's a lot better than that, and I think Electrode is a lot better than a middle. It kind of says it's just average. I think Electrode's a lot better than that. I'm going to put Electrode at the top of B tier. I'm going to put Voltorb near the top of D tier. And despite, there's other pre-evolved Pokemon, I'm putting it even ahead of Machoke. My reasoning for that is because in Pokemon Legends Arceus, if your Pokemon is very fast, it's possible for you to get 2 moves out in a row. Now, I might be misunderstanding the battle mechanics there, but Voltorb and Electrode being some of the fastest Pokemon in the game, I have definitely seen it work to their advantage, where my Voltorb can hit 2 Thunderbolts before the opponent could do anything. And that's awesome when I give it, like Thunder Wave. It can be used to paralyze Pokemon I'm trying to catch, and I know I'm going to be able to get that Thunder Wave out before the Alpha Pokemon kills me. So despite the Voltorb and Electrode are going to die in the fight, I can almost always get a Thunder Wave out with them. So I guess a lot of Pokemon will have niche uses like that, but for Voltorb and Electrode, I've seen myself how good they can be. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in D and B tier. Let me know in the comments if that's too high or what your opinion is of that. Lickitung, going to put it in D tier, probably over Graveler and Onyx. It has a lot of bulk just like they do, but it's not going to be as weak, to everything. Which, speaking of weak to everything, we have Rhyhorn. Rhyhorn, along with Graveler and Onyx, similar issue there, 4 times weak to 2 different things. It evolves into Rhyhorn, or Rhydon, which Rhydon is probably better than Golem. At least it used to be. Despite the fact that it has another evolution, it is better than Golem. Very, very comparable, but it just gets more moves. Rhyhorn has always been able to use a wide variety of moves. It can even learn in the regular games, it can learn like Surf. I think it can learn an Ice move or 2, a Thunderbolt. Just all of those moves together gives it a lot of options, a lot of coverage opportunities there. So that you aren't murdered consistently. Another Pokemon with a lot of coverage options is Chansey. You may not expect this, but Chansey is probably right there with Clefable in terms of being they both used to be a normal type Pokemon with a lot of different moves to choose from. Now, Chansey's more of a tank with a huge defense stat and a huge HP stat. It's going to be very, very hard to kill, but you're not going to kill it, right? And while they're trying to kill you, you can just blast off whatever's super effective against it, because Chansey can learn a lot of different stuff to deal with the situation. Tangela, D tier. Probably put it ahead of the rocks. Similar thing here. We might have to add a new tier here. We're getting a lot of bad Pokemon. Probably put it ahead of the rocks. We'll go ahead and put it right there with Lickitung, I think is probably appropriate. Man, it sucks that I don't have a lot of the... Once I get the other evolutions down here, we're going to have some fun. We are seeing a lot of Pokemon in the DNF tier at this point, so we're going to have to see if that remains the case. Continuing on with Mr. Mime, we're going to continue this after I get a drink of water. Alright, what was a second for you guys has been more time for me. Got to stay hydrated when you're doing these long tier lists. I learned that in the Fortnite video. Anyway, moving on from that. Mr. Mime, not a bad Pokemon. About Chansey, Clefable level. It's not a normal type, it's Psychic Fairy, and I think that typing actually really, really helps it. It can learn a wide variety of move, which is awesome. Of moves, is what I was trying to say there. It's actually also probably better than Magneton. Scyther is going to end up in a tier above. Scyther is one of the best bug-type Pokemon you can get in the game. It can learn, again, a wide variety of moves. And it's a really, really strong Pokemon for being an unevolved Pokemon. I think it might even be better than Golduck and Rapidash. It's kind of at that level. Kind of whatever type you need, take from B tier. Electabuzz we're going to put into C tier. It's going to be the best electric type in this tier. Better than Magneton. Better than Raichu. And Magmar is going to be right there with it. Just basically the fire version of it. Very similar Pokemon here. With, Magmar and Electabuzz here. Magikarp is going to be an F- tier, but once it evolves, Gyarados is going to be an A tier. Gyarados is a step up from Tentacruel or Golduck. Is obviously going to be a great Pokemon to use. Getting into our first round of evolutions here, we have the original Eevee. Eevee is going to be a F tier Pokemon, unfortunately. Until you evolve it, it cannot do a lot on its own. And that's okay. It's doing its best. It's going to be down here with Pikachu, probably, in the F tier. Once you evolve it, though, you have some options. Starting off with Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon here. I think they're all going to be B tier options, just depending on what you need. It's hard to say which of these Pokemon is really the best, because I think pretty much all the evolutions are B tier, with the exception of maybe Sylveon. Taking a look at their stats here, they all excel in one thing. Vaporeon excels in HP. Flareon excels in, I think, regular attack. Physical attack. And Jolteon excels in speed. And it also has a pretty good special attack. So I think Jolteon would probably be the best of these Pokemon. And just for simplicity's sake, 525. You know what? These guys do have higher base stat totals than Ninetales, Rapidash, Golduck, Scyther than really any of these Pokemon. So, yeah, these are probably going to be up here at the top of B tier. I think that a Vaporeon is probably going to end up being underneath Jolteon, and I think that probably Flareon is going to be the third option here, but they're all very similar. Use what you want in terms of what type you need there. Another very interesting Pokemon is Porygon. It can learn a lot of different moves. It's also very difficult to get, coming from the space-time distortions, though probably easier than it has been in other games. I think this is going to be a D-tier Pokemon, along the lines of a Lickitung or a Tangela, probably right above Lickitung. Now, Snorlax is a good Pokemon. Despite being such an old Pokemon, it is one that's stuck around and been in almost every single game. In this game, you find it as an alpha Pokemon right away, and if you're not careful, it will just annihilate you. So I'm thinking that it probably is going to be a B-tier Pokemon, maybe even A-tier. Is that too high? This one, I think I need to take a look at what Rank Boost says. Mass typing coming in here. Yeah, they say A-tier. It is kind of on that Gyarados, Gengar level now. Gyarados is probably better than Gengar here. I do think Gengar is better than Snorlax. Though Snorlax can learn so many different moves. So I definitely can understand if you would rather have it on your team. Hey, we're finally in Generation 2, talking about the starters. We first have, well, there's only one Generation 2 starter in the game. So we have Cyndaquil. Cyndaquil is going to be F tier. It's going to be good in terms of, yeah, it's a starter, right? And it being a starter is going to make it better than a lot of the other Pokemon on this list. Maybe around that Ghastly Magnemite level. Once it evolves into Quilava, it's going to be a little bit better, D tier. Quilava is going to be able to trade blows with Ponyta and Growlithe here. Going to give it a little bit of an edge, but it is still going to be D tier. And then once it fully evolves into the Hisuian Typhlosion, it is going to be an A tier Pokemon. I don't know that it is better than Gengar. It's definitely cooler than Gengar. But for right now, I'm going to leave Gengar and Snorlax above it. It's definitely a great Pokemon, though. If you choose Cyndaquil as your starter, obviously you're going to be using it instead of Gengar anyway. Crobat, fantastic Pokemon here, A tier. Very, very fast, very powerful, lots of coverage, lots of different moves. It can use Flying, Bug, Poison, Dark, Grass? Can you use Grass? I don't know. It can use a lot of different types of moves, more than you would expect. I am going to go ahead and put this one in A tier. If you're looking for just the most powerful team possible, grab from the S and A tier. Those will be your options. Now we're coming into F- tier. We have Pichu and we have Cleffa. These guys are going to be down here, probably worse than Paris. Not as bad, though, as Magikarp. We have Togepi coming up as well. Another, kind of the original baby Pokemon, if you think about it. Did eventually get a third evolution. This one's going to be F tier. Probably not F- tier, but F tier. Not as good as Eevee, I don't think. But yeah, probably right around that level. Its evolved form Togetic, or Togetic. Togetic is going to be probably in the D tier, a little bit better here. I think it's a better Porygon, a better Lickitung. Probably right around that level there. Sudowoodo, same thing. It's going to be right there with the rocks. Given that it does not have a 4-time weakness, I'm going to give it the edge over Graveler, Onyx, and Rhyhorn, but I will put it there. Apom as well, going to be D tier, probably just barely. I think it is a little bit stronger. Given that it didn't start with an evolution, they made this Pokemon a little bit stronger. Though, yeah, it's not going to win any awards, but, I mean, it's going to be probably keeping itself out of F tier, I would think. Yanma, as a bug-type Pokemon, definitely not going to do as well as Scizor here. Yanma is a Pokemon. I really like this Pokemon. I wish it was better. I do wish it was better. I'm going to put it in the D tier. I think it's probably just going to be better than Aipom, unfortunately. Now, with 2 more evolutions coming up here, we have Espeon and Umbreon. I do believe Umbreon's probably the worst evolution for a playthrough because it's so defensive. It does have a host of different moves it can learn, which is awesome, but because it is so defensive, it's not going to do the damage that you may want in a playthrough team. Though that said, it probably will be better than most other Pokemon, below it in this tier. Espeon, I think, would probably be the best of the evolutions that we've seen so far. It being Psychic type, there's a lot more than it can do than probably Jolteon. So I'm going to put those there with the other evolutions, as we said. Next up, we have Murkrow and Mischievous, 2 Pokemon that got evolutions later in the series. Murkrow and Mischievous, I both think are D-tier Pokemon. We can kind of rank them together here. I would likely put them over Togetic, kind of at that level. I think Mischievous probably has more going for it with the Ghost type. Though they both have an immunity because Murkrow is flying, it's immune to ground. And also with the plethora of D-tier Pokemon we have here, how much more? We do have a lot of bad Pokemon coming. And a lot of good ones, too. We're going to go ahead and add another tier here. Now, we have Unknown coming up in a sec. And we are going to need a row for that because I just don't know that I want to put all of them in the same tier. So we're going to go and putting all of them here. I think the Unknown should probably have their own tier, right? Alright, through the magic of editing, we're going to do this in an instant. Boom, there we go. So, Unknown, get their own tier. They are a Psychic Pokemon with only 1 move, but they are not the weakest Pokemon in the world, which is good. They're going to be somewhere between D and F tier here, nothing really to write home about. It doesn't matter which one you use, they're all the same thing. So they get their own tier here, and F and F- get to be underneath them now. Alright, we made a dent. We really did make a dent there. Gligar, we're going to go ahead and put in D tier. We're also going to go ahead and jump ahead and put Quillfish there. Both of these being poison types, I think we can probably put them together. And we'll probably put them... Are they better than Mischievous and Murkrow? Mischievous is probably the best of the 4. I think that Togetic might be better than them, and I'll put Quillfish over Gligar. Gligar being part ground is also really good. It's ground poison, right? Or is it ground flying? Its typing does actually matter for this. Though I guess it's going to be in D tier either way. Nah, it's fine. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and leave it there. Steelix, I think, is going to be a B tier Pokemon. I think it's really, really good. It being a Steel type, it having a great attack stat, it having a great defense stat, it's going to be the top of B tier for me, honestly. I think it's better than the evolutions, and I think it's better than Electrode. It's also a lot of fun to use, because it is such a monster at taking hits. And dishing them out, too. Scizor, another Pokemon right on the same vein. So even though this is in the same tier here as Scyther, it's going to be a lot better than Scyther. You know, you do want to evolve your Scyther. Its stats pretty much stay the same. I think it gets slower, but it gets more defensive. Which is an interesting thing to happen when your Pokemon evolves, but it's a really cool evolution. So B tier, and it's pretty strong too. I think that Heracross is going to be also B tier. Similar thing there. Very strong bug and fighting type. 500 base stat total, the same as Scizor. I think it's going to be right underneath the evolutions. I think it's probably more useful than Alolan Ninetales. It's very comparable to Scizor. Or, I'm sorry, to Scyther. Would you rather have Heracross or Machamp? Probably Machamp. We'll put it down there. Now we have 2 versions of Sneasel. Both versions of Sneasel are in this game, which is interesting how they added some of the previous forms and not all of them. Their logic on that is interesting. I think both of them are going to be D-tier Pokemon. You know, they originally did not have evolutions. So once they gave them Weevil, and then, you know, the new one has an evolution as well. I think we're going to go ahead and put them in D-tier. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and put them there. I think that's fair. They're about the same. They just do different things, right? Teddy Ursa. Teddy Ursa you can get like way early on, I feel like. I think it's in the second zone you can get Teddy Ursa. And it has a new evolution, which is neat. The new evolution is going to be pretty good. We're not there yet, but for regular Teddy Ursa, this is probably just going to be a F tier Pokemon, to be honest. It's not really that powerful. Nothing really to write home about. I don't think it has some amazing stat I'm not thinking of. Let's check. Let's check rank boost. This is a Pokemon I don't know. Yeah, it's nothing to write home about. Ursaring. I have fond memories of Ursaring. I'm going to put it in the B tier. Now we're getting a little top heavy here. Our C tier is our smallest tier out of these ones in the middle. Ursaring is going to be B tier. Because of that normal typing, probably I'm going to leave it at the bottom of B tier. Again, though, B tier, any of these Pokemon are serviceable, just whatever type you need. Grab one of those. Swinub, it's available so late that just for that aspect, you really aren't going to be using one on your team. You're going to be able to evolve it into Pillow-Swine pretty early on. Swinub is going to be an F tier Pokemon along the lines of Geodude. And then Pillow-Swine is not even that powerful when it is evolved. I think I'd rather use a Golem or an Electabuzz or a Magmar. It's probably going to be around that Mr. Mime level. It's going to be C tier. Remoraid, just, a fish, F tier. Not as good as Tentacruel. Octillery, C tier? Do we have any other waters? I don't think Octillery is going to be as good as Tentacruel in B tier there. So I think it is going to be in our C tier. Probably over Haunter, I would say. Yeah. We'll go ahead and put that there. Mantine. Interesting Pokemon. C tier probably for this one. Oh, that's a D tier. I think Octillery is better than Mantine. Octillery has a lot of really interesting moves it can use. I think it can learn some electric moves, for example. And Mantine is part flying, but I don't think that makes up for it. They're very comparable, though. I think Octillery is probably a better Pokemon. Porygon 2 is going to be C tier. Porygon 1 being in D tier. Porygon 2 gets a bit of an upgrade here. Going to be on a similar level of Chansey and Clefable here. Just like Porygon 1 was with Lickitung. I'm going to go ahead and put that there in C tier. And we're going to put Stantler in one of those places as well. It's either going to be D or C tier. The question is which level we're putting it in. And Stantler has a lot of psychic moves. It's not actually a psychic type. It probably should be, but it's not actually a psychic type. So you're immune to Ghost, and then you have psychic moves. How does that benefit you? I don't know. I gotta make a decision on this. So I think we're gonna put it in C tier. Probably near the bottom of it, though. Yeah, probably near the bottom of C tier we'll put it. Oh, more baby Pokemon. Elekid and Magby are gonna be F- Pokemon, just because they are so weak as babies. Now, they are probably more powerful than Paris, all things considered there. Blissey is an absolute tank. Blissey seemingly could take absolutely anything and be fine. It's going to be an A tier right there with Snorlax. Snorlax is probably better for its offensive capabilities, but we're going to be putting Blissey there in A tier as well. Wurmple is going to be an F tier Pokemon, though. Yeah, pretty weak. Its evolutions, so it evolves into either Slickcoon or Cascoon. Both of those are going to be in F tier, so we get a leg up here from D tier, or from F- T tier to F tier. Did not go a whole, far. Beautifly and Dustox are going to end up in the D tier as well. I think Beautifly is a little better than Dustox, I seem to remember. But honestly, they're probably both at the level of Yanma here. So, yeah. Nothing really to write home about. I feel like I've been saying that a lot lately. I apologize if you're a viewer and you are getting tired of me repeating the same thing over and over again. Where is our video at? We're at 40 minutes. Oh, God. All right, let's wrap this up. Let's keep on going. Let's get a drink of water here and keep it rolling. Ralts and Corellia, F tier. They do have some useful typing. Not a lot going for them, though. It can go there. It can go there. Next to Clefairy. That's fine. Corellia gets better. I think it probably ends up in D. But near the bottom of D. It's not very powerful. It does get incredibly powerful, though, once... No, Corellia can probably go up here next to Togetic. It does get incredibly powerful once it gets up to Gardevoir, though. I think Gardevoir, because of its typing, is one of the best Pokemon you can use in the game. This is similar to the Alakazam thing, where it is a Pokemon you can get incredibly early. It has a wide variety of moves, can fit anywhere on your team that you want, and I actually think Gardevoir has better coverage than Alakazam does. So I will go ahead and put that in S tier. I think it's going to be a really, really good Pokemon to use. Next up, we have Nosepass. Nosepass is a D tier Pokemon. It was such a cool concept, and then it just wasn't anymore. I don't know. It's not that great. It's going to go down here with the other rocks. We have a little collection of rocks here. I think it's probably worse than Rhyhorn. We have next up Roselia. I like Roselia. I think Roselia is a cool Pokemon. I'm going to put it into the D tier. Once it evolves into Roserade, it's actually pretty good. But I don't think it's anything great before it evolves. I think it's probably D tier. Put it up above the rocks. Put it right here with Tangela, probably. That seems to be a good match for it. Continuing on with Wishcash. So we are going to go ahead and put Wishcash. Oh no, this one's Wishcash. Barbroach is its name. Barbroach is going to be F tier. It's a fish. It's ground type, so that's kind of cool. Or is it not ground type till it evolves? I'm not sure. But it's there with Tentacruel and Remoraid. Once it evolves into Wishcash, it can be a little bit higher. We'll put it probably up into the C tier, along with its Octillery and Mantine brethren here. But not really anything, amazing. Duskull, because it's a ghost, is pretty neat. I think it's probably along the same lines as Ghastly, though. Ghastly, I think, because of the poison type, is actually going to be better. Though I guess it does give it more weaknesses, too. But Sludge Bomb is a pretty powerful move. So yeah, I mean, Duskull's probably about right there. Dusclops, I'm going to be putting in C tier. I think it's right there comparable to Haunter. I guess I could have just copied that, right? Because you just kind of copy those ones up. Continuing on with Chimeco, or I believe it's actually pronounced Chimeco, but I never knew that. It's probably a C tier Pokemon, lower end. I'd put it probably right ahead of Stantler. I really don't like Chimeco. I feel like it's kind of a useless Pokemon that everybody forgets about. Snorunt, F tier. Not a good Pokemon. You also don't get it until super late on, so similar situation here of Swinub, where by the time you get it, you're probably going to evolve it anyway. Glalie, because it's not ground type, it's not as good as Piloswine. Glalie is probably better than Golduck, or Golbat. It's going to be C tier. Spheal, F tier. Better than Snorunt and Swinub. Better than Pikachu, probably. Probably better than these other fish, too. It is pretty bulky. So yeah, probably right there above of Barbroach. Spheal gets a little bit better. I'm going to put it ahead of Corellia. And it's going to kind of be in that D tier zone there. Yeah. Walrein, though, is a beast. Once it evolves fully, it takes a while for this Pokemon to get going. But once it evolves fully, I would say it's an A tier Pokemon. Very bulky, very strong, water and ice moves. Great Pokemon. Next we have the starters, or at least the Gen 4 starters. We have Turtwig, Chimchar, and Piplup. I'm going to do all these together because they're very similar. And because they are starters, they are probably going there at the top of the tier. We already do have Cyndaquil here as well. And I think I'm going to go ahead and move Cyndaquil up. Now, in terms of which of these Pokemon is best, it honestly doesn't really matter. They're all pretty comparable. Trying to think of like what Pokemon, what types you need. I don't know. They're comparable, right? So you have these starters here, top of F tier. Once they evolve, they're going to be a little bit better. So I think this is pretty much going to mirror where we put Quilava earlier, with Grottle coming in here, as well as Monferno, and also Prinplup. Monferno, I think, will probably be the best of these because I think it does already have its fighting type, where I think the other two have to wait to get their extra types. So I'd probably put it ahead, but again, obviously they're going to be very close. Torterra, Infernape, and Empoleon are going to be up here in the A tier, or even higher. Let's put them up here first. Lots of scrolling as we get down this list. Torterra, Empoleon, both fantastic. The Steel type from Empoleon is going to be just great. Torterra, a little bit weaker, but still good. I'm probably going to put it as the lowest of the starters. And I think Infernape is actually an S tier Pokemon. It is the most powerful fire type Pokemon you can get outside of legendaries. And yeah, I mean, Empoleon, you kind of have the case where, oh, should I use Empoleon or should I use Gyarados? Torterra, well, we haven't gotten to some Pokemon that's going to compete with it, but there are Pokemon that will compete. Infernape, it's the best fire type Pokemon in the game, with the exception only, I suppose, of Arcanine. So these are your two options if you want to use a strong fire type Pokemon. I don't know why I didn't consider Arcanine when I said this was the strongest. It's top two. Let's keep it rolling. Starly, F tier. It's better than the bugs, I guess. Staravia, D tier. Yeah. It's better than the bugs, I guess. Staraptor. Very good Pokemon. Gonna put in the B tier. Probably even higher than Electrode. I think Staravia is a really, really good Pokemon. It learns close combat. It's one of the best regional birds. And if you've used one, you can probably attest to that. That it's pretty good. I'm going to put it in B tier. I think it's better than people think it is. Just because you can get it fully evolved so early, and you can get it so early, I think that definitely helps its ranking and helps it be, a better Pokemon than you might assume. Bidoof is the god of Pokemon, of course. No, that's a meme. If you haven't seen that, it is a well-known Pokemon meme. Bidoof is F tier. It's not that great. The Barrel is a little bit better. D tier here. Gonna put it right there with Lickitung. Apologies for the pauses, guys, in an hour-long video. I have to take a few phone calls. Kriktot sucks. F minus. Kricketune is not much better. I'll put it at the top of F tier over the starters, but it is not that great of a Pokemon. Shinx I will also put down here in the F tier. I mentioned a while ago that if you're going to use Pikachu, you might as well just use Shinx, because it's going to be better for you. That is still my opinion. I'm going to put Luxio up a little bit here. We don't have any electric Pokemon in this tier yet, so I'm not really sure quite where to put it. Probably right underneath Porygon. Luxray, once you do get to that point, is going to be a B tier Pokemon. Very good Pokemon in terms of its just what it offers you. In addition to giving you the obvious electric, you get some dark and fire moves. I think you can also get like Ice Fang too. So it's pretty good. Probably around here Golduck and Rapidash level, Scyther level, I suppose. Bidoof sucks. This is a F tier Pokemon. And Roserade, though, is good. I think Roserade is actually an A tier Pokemon. One of the best grass types in the game. The other one would be Torterra. And I think it would compete with Torterra for a spot on your team. It's just kind of a matter of what you need, right? So this has grass and poison. This has poisonous flying. This has grass and ground. So just depending on what you need there. I think Roserade is a great Pokemon. Cranidos and Shieldon, the fossil Pokemon, going to be F tier. Put them right underneath the starters. I think they are going to be a lot better than some of these other ones. And then once you do evolve them, I mean, they get better, but I don't think the fossils are anything really super crazy. Rampardos does have the distinction of having one of the highest attacks in the game, but it has almost nothing else going for it. And Shieldon, kind of same thing. So I think these Pokemon are around the level of Rhyhorn, or I'm sorry, Rhydon and Golem. Top of C tier, though Rhydon does have that coverage advantage. Yeah, I think probably C tier for them. The Burmy line is one of my favorite lines of Pokemon. It looks like we are missing the Sandcloak Burmy in our tier list here. But despite it being one of my favorites, it is garbage. It's going to be F tier. Yeah, it's with the other bugs. Can it be better than Sliggin and Cascoon? Probably not. Wormadam gets a little better, but not by much. In fact, I think Wormadam is still probably F tier. Okay, let's look on Ranked Boost to see if there's anything redeeming about Wormadam. They rank it in D tier. Okay, we'll put it in D tier. Sure, it can be with the other bugs here. I think without Flying Stab, it's not going to be as good. Though it does get some other interesting stabs. The Bug and Grass one is probably the worst. The Bug and Ground one is a little more interesting. And the Bug and Steel one is actually really interesting. So I'd put that one at the highest, and I'd leave the Grass one down in D tier. Mothim as well is going to be a D tier option. Going to put it here with Yanma, Beautifly, and Dustox. They all kind of seem to, offer the same type of deal for your team. Combee is going to be another one. Going to put Combee down here in F tier with the other bugs. Probably better than these ones, but not by much. Vespiquen, though, is a more powerful bug if you're looking for something better than this tier of bug-type Pokemon. Maybe not quite the level of Scyther. Vespiquen is your option. Vespiquen is probably right around a Golbat level Pokemon. C tier. Pachirisu is going to be D tier for me. Do we have electric types? Yep, electric type right there with Alexio. I'd rather use Alexio than a Pachirisu. I think they're probably around the same level in D tier. One of the first water Pokemon you can encounter in the game is this thing. What is it called? Bibarel. Bibarel? No, that's the evolved form of okay, this is Weasel. Okay, I had a lot of trouble with that one. I apologize. The video is 52 minutes in. Oh, let's keep on going. F tier. Cool. Not that great. Floatzel. I want Floatzel to be so good, but it's just not. It's a C tier Pokemon. It's not bad. It probably is because of its speed faster than Whiscash. But it is going to be kind of in that C tier water tier. Something that's not going to get into C tier, though, is Cherim, or Cherubi here. Yeah, probably right there with the other bugs. Cherim, I misspoke, will end up in C tier as a grass Pokemon up there. Once Cherubi evolves, it is a better grass-type Pokemon. I always think this thing is a bug. It is grass. Grass type. Probably better than Chimecho. Sure. Put it there. Oh, and its other form is going to be the same place. Shellos is our Pokemon that we're talking about next. Does it have ground type? I think it's just water type. Once it evolves, Gastrodon is really good, actually. The lack of abilities in this game makes certain Pokemon very interesting, because Gastrodon was a very, very good Pokemon because of some of its abilities that it had. And now without those, you have that question of, are these Pokemon still as good? And I've encountered that with some of these other Pokemon we've been talking about. Now this one specifically, Shellos and, well, both forms. I almost said male, female. It's actually West Coast or West Sea and East Sea. These will go with the other water Pokemon, in F tier. Gastrodon, though, once it does evolve, is going to be a B tier option with that ground stab and the ground typing. It's going to be pretty good. Tentacruel might be better than it. Tentacruel, excuse me. But I think it's still a pretty good option for you, regardless of... I guess it depends what you need, right? Do you need poison or do you need ground? So yeah. Next we have Ambipom. We're finally getting into some of these Gen 2 evolutions. And let's take a look and see what ranked boost have on this one, because I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I've ever used an Ambipom on my team. How do you spell Ambipom? Oh, I found it. Oh, they said C tier. Okay, sure. Yeah, I used it a little just to like register in the Pokedex, but I mean, it's probably around the level of Chansey and Clefable, right? Drifloon is another ghost that's going to be an F tier. It's probably the worst of Duskull and Ghastly of those three. I don't think it's anywhere near as defensive. Yeah, I don't think it has as much going for it. Drifblim though might. Drifblim, where did we put? We put Haunter and Dusclops up here. I think it's definitely better than Haunter and Duskull. Drifblim glows up a lot better than those two do. Yeah, C tier, right above them. I think that's good. Buniri, F tier. And I'm going to go ahead to Glameow and also put an F tier because those are very similar Pokemon. Lopunny and Purugly are both going to be in the C tier for me. I think Lopunny probably has a little more going for it than Ambipom. So I'll put both those Pokemon ahead of Ambipom. Mismagius is going to be also in the C tier, around that same kind of level as Drifblim and Haunter. But Honchkrow, I think, deserves a little tier up because of its dark and flying typing. It is a bit of a better Pokemon. Not by a whole lot. Going to be kind of near the bottom of the tier, but I think it is a B tier Pokemon. Chingling is going to be F-, baby Pokemon, not much going for it. Stunky, going to be F tier. It's definitely one of the better F tier Pokemon. Yeah, probably one of the better F tier Pokemon. I'll put it here next to the Ghosts. Stuntank is a tank of a Pokemon. Has a lot more HP than you realize, can take a lot more hits than you realize, and learn a lot of moves. Stuntank can learn Fire Blast, and I think it actually has a quest, a Pokedex entry quest to use Fire Attack, so that's pretty cool. Probably near the Ghosts, right? Similar things, similar to Haunter. Bronzor, because of that typing, that Steel Psychic typing, Bronzor is probably going to be at... Is it D tier? I'm going to put it at the bottom of D tier. I don't know how strong it is in terms of its base stats, but just the typing alone and the amount of moves it can use. Also, by the time you get it, it's going to be fairly powerful. I think it's going to be D tier. Bronzong, I think, is going to be a C or B. Steel-type Pokemon are just so good. It's hard to write them off in a lot of different situations. Just being a Steel-type can really benefit you because there's so many different types of Pokemon that just cannot hit you for anything other than not very effective. So yeah, I think B tier is appropriate. It is probably better than the Gastrodon. So we'll put it up here. Bonsly. Baby Pokemon, you suck. Mime Jr., same thing. Happiny, same thing. Chatot, F tier? Is Chatot just F tier? Okay, I don't know anything about Chatot. Rank Boost says D tier, we'll go with that. Sure. Yeah. I used Chatot for like a minute. What did I just do? I used Chatot for like a minute to finish its Pokedex entry, but I was not that impressed. Spiritomb is going to be a B tier Pokemon. The Ghost and the Dark typing means it only has one weakness to Fairy, and from battling a certain post-game trainer, yeah, Spiritomb can be a difficult Pokemon to take out. I think it's better than the Evolutions. I think it's better than Staraptor. I think it's honestly near the top of B tier here. Very good Pokemon. Gibble, going to be D tier because of that dragon typing. Very good Pokemon, very good for a starter Pokemon. It is a little bit weaker because it is the first Pokemon in that, in that evolutionary line. But, I mean, come on, it's Gibble. It's going to evolve into a monster. And that monster is Gabite. Gabite is a... Is it quite B tier? Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty close to B tier. Maybe C tier. We'll put it in C tier. So it does go up a level when it evolves. Probably better than Pillow Swine. But then once it becomes Garchomp, Garchomp is one of the best Pokemon in the game. It's going to be up here in S tier over Arcanine being a pseudo-legendary Pokemon. S tier is where it's going to be. Munchlax is one of the better baby Pokemon in the game. I think it is probably D tier. Right here with Porygon seems appropriate for it. Riolu and Lucario is what we have coming up here next. Riolu, not very good, despite the unique typing. Or does it have Stelia? Is it just fighting? I'm not sure. Probably here with Eevee and Togepi. I apologize if these rankings within each category are not as exact as we may want them to be, guys. Yeah, there's a lot to rank. Lucario, better than Staraptor. B tier. Hippopotas. Hippopotas. This thing. This thing is going in D tier. Yeah. It's not that great, but it's also not that bad either. Hippowdon, I think, is a C tier Pokemon. It doesn't get a whole lot better when it evolves. It is pretty bulky, I guess. I don't know. I used to have Hippowdon on my Generation 4 team back in 2009, which was pretty cool. It is pretty strong. It has over 500 base total. Okay, we'll move it up a tier. We'll move it up here to this level. Probably going to be challenging, even like Gastrodon. Yeah, it's probably better than Gastrodon. There with Bronzong seems appropriate. There's some exciting Pokemon coming up here. I'm just seeing all these legendaries down here. Which I do apologize if anybody had not finished the game yet and didn't want to see these legendaries. The game has been out for a bit, though. I had about 2 weeks of kind of spoiler warnings and spoiler-free videos. So I do apologize for not saying that at the beginning of this video. That did completely slip my mind. But at this point, I hope that you have seen what you needed to see. Skorupi. Skorupi is a cool Pokemon. So is Drapion. Skorupi by itself, probably F tier with the other bugs. Maybe here with Stunky. Drapion, good Pokemon. B tier. Strong, powerful. Poison Dark type, a unique typing. Probably right there with Tentacruel, right? Better than Gastrodon. Toxicroak, definitely one of the better of the F tier Pokemon. And then it obviously is going to get a lot better when it does evolve. Fighting and Poison type is very interesting, to say the least. It's one of the only Pokemon in the game with that combination. I think the only other one is Sneasel. The new Sneasel and Sneasler. So, Toxicroak, B tier. It's a good Pokemon to use. And like I said, a unique typing. Probably not as good as Machamp, but right underneath Heracross, or right above Heracross. Carnivine coming up here. We have breached the 1 hour level. I did not expect this to be this long. If you are watching this, please smash the like button and let me know in the comments section so I can smash your like button because you deserve it if you have watched at all this level, even if you're skipping through. I don't blame you. This video has been very long. But I have to do it. I make random tier lists. Sometimes those random ones are long. This fish is F tier. Finneon. How do I remember all these Pokemon names? Finneon, F tier. Luminion. Probably just C tier. With these other fish. Yeah. Sure. Mantike is going to be a baby Pokemon. Near the top of F- tier, we'll say. Snover, D tier. It has a big weakness to fire, but not much weaknesses other than that, which is nice. Put it right here. Abomasnow. Is it B tier? Probably is B tier. You don't get it until so late, though, which is the negative of some of these Pokemon. I think it's going to be like pretty much at the bottom of B tier. Weevil. So this is the Joetonian Weevil, which you get from the Space-Time Distortions, and you get this obviously from the Joetonian Sneasel. This one's going to be B tier. I think it's going to be right there above Honchkrow. Magnezone is an A tier Pokemon. Very, very good Pokemon. One of the better electric types in the game. I think it's probably better than Blissey and Snorlax. Really good Pokemon. Licky, C tier Pokemon. It is a tank. Probably better than Chansey for that, seeing as it is fully evolved. But, yeah. It can learn some rock-type moves and stuff, but it's not that great. Rhyperior is pretty great, though. A tier Pokemon. This is probably the other Pokemon that competes with Torterra, this time on the ground side of things. Despite it having a 4-time weakness to 2 different things, Rhyperior is very strong and has a lot of different moves to use. So Rhyperior I would put in the A tier, and I do think it competes with Torterra. Tangrowth. We put Tangela in D tier. I think Tangrowth as a grass type is going to be here in the B tier. We don't have any other Pokemon here yet other than Abomasnow that are grass type, so I think if you want a B tier grass type Pokemon, it's going to be between one of them, which are some pretty unique Pokemon to use. Electivire and Magmortar are both going to be A tier, and Togekiss will also be an A tier Pokemon. All 3 of these Pokemon I think do belong in the A tier. I think Togekiss is probably the best of them. I think Togekiss might even be S tier with what I'm ranking them as here. Is it better than... I think it's better than Gardevoir and Alakazam, honestly. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. It has a whole lot going for it. Lots of different moves it can use. Electivire and Magmortar, another very powerful fire type. I think if you're going to use Electric, you're better off with Magnezone. But that doesn't mean Electivire isn't powerful in its own right. And Magmortar, kind of similar thing. If you're going to use a fire type, you're better off with Arcanine or Infernape. But I would definitely rank this the number 3 non-legendary fire Pokemon. Next we have Yanmega. C tier. Yeah. Probably better than Golbat right there with Vespiquen. 2 more evolutions finally. We have Leafeon and we have Glaceon. We'll put them right between Umbreon and Flareon. Leafeon's probably better than Glaceon. Gliscor, B tier again. It is ground and flying, an interesting combination. I think it's probably comparable to Drapion. Similar things there. Piloswine, A tier Pokemon. I'm sorry, Mamoswine. Very, very powerful Pokemon. A lot of these 3rd level evolutions are going to be up here in the A tier. I think because of its unique typing, it would probably go up here a little bit higher. A tier nonetheless. We have here Porygon Z. Porygon Z, I think, is probably A tier. Let's check what Rank Boost has to say on this one. Yeah, they put it all the way. They also put Porygon 2 up in B tier. I guess it is 515 base stat total. I think C tier is appropriate for it. But Porygon Z can be up here in A tier. I think it... so many different moves you can use with it. Once you have your starter Pokemon, you can kind of have it just fill in whatever role you want if you want to use one. Definitely want to use one at some point. Galaden's an A tier Pokemon, almost as good as Gardevoir, but in kind of different ways. I think it's probably better than Snorlax and Blissey. So, Galade, A tier. Probopass is one of the not as great extra evolutions that was added in Gen 4. It is very weak to fighting moves. The addition of Steel, actually, I don't think helps it very much. I'm going to leave it down at the bottom of B tier. I actually don't think it's that great. But B tier, I mean, it is above average. Dusknoir, same thing. Also going to be probably B tier. This one a lot better, though. Dusknoir, I feel like it should be a lot better than it is, but it just doesn't do anything amazingly. Yeah, B tier. Frostlass, is this all the way up in A tier? No, I think it's going to end up in B. It is better than Glalie. The addition of the ghost type is a good one for it to have. I think it's kind of comparable there with Dusknoir. Next we have Rotom and its various forms. Now I'm not sure how much its form changes would help. I think the basic form is going to be D tier, but admitting here that I have not actually used its form changes yet in the game. I do have a Rotom, but I have not changed its forms. So let me know in the comments if you are using a Rotom, what its best forms are in Legends Arceus. For now, I'm going to go ahead and put them all at the bottom of C tier, because I definitely think that they are better than the regular form of Rotom. And honestly, from what I know about how they are in other games, I'd say that Rotom Frost is probably the worst of them. Rotom Frost is probably down here with regular Rotom. And I couldn't tell you about the other ones. I think Rotom Heat's probably the best one. I don't know, let me know in the comments. What do you guys think? Alright, now we have Legendary Pokemon. Now for these Legendary Pokemon, we are going to make a new tier. And don't let the fact that it's at the bottom alarm you, because I'm going to move it to the top. But this will keep me from scrolling a lot. So before we keep scrolling up and down, we're going to make A tier just for Legendary Pokemon here. Because let's face it, just based off their stats alone, almost all of these Legendary Pokemon are going to be going into their own tier. Now, ranking them within their tier about which one is the best, that's where it's going to get a bit interesting here. Dialga, for example, in both of its forms are definitely going to be better than the Lake Guardians, and I think Dialga is probably better than Palkia as well. Both of those Pokemon are going to be better in addition than Heatran, who is better than the Lake Guardians. Regigigas, incredibly interesting Pokemon because of that slow start. I'll put it above the Lake Guardians, but not quite as good as Heatran here. Giratina in both of its forms are going to be right there with Palkia and Dialga. I do think its origin form is better, but without that Levitate ability, it's pretty much the same thing. I think it just gets a little more attack, and the rest is pretty much the same. Taking a look at the difference between their stats, both Dialga and Palkia gain some special defense and lose attack? They lose regular attack when they change forms. So yeah, I think these Pokemon are actually better in their base forms. Is Giratina, it's kind of whatever you need, right? Giratina or Dialga. Cresselia, on the other hand, though, is a fantastic Pokemon. Well, all of these are, right? All of these legendaries are. So we're going to go ahead and put it right underneath that trio and everything. Manaphy's also really good. It's better than a Lake Trio. It can use a ton of different moves. I had a lot of fun using it. Oh, this is Fion, not Manaphy. Fion actually is going to be in C tier, despite it being a mythical Pokemon. It is just not quite as good as Manaphy, and it's kind of like an underling Pokemon, it feels like. Darkrai, legendary. Right there with Cresselia, probably. Shaman, legendary. I know some of these are also mythical, so we'll do legendary / mythical. Right, Shaman is better than the Lake Trio. I think the Lake Trio are probably the worst of the legendary Pokemon, though definitely not, And Arceus is the best Pokemon in the game, bar none. Let's go ahead and grab the other legendary Pokemon while we are here. Looks like we have an extra Landorus here or an extra Tornadus for some reason. I think that the forms of Landorus, Tornadus, and Thundurus, when they change forms, they get more physical attack. in exchange for a loss in special attack. And potentially a loss in speed, too. So it's kind of just whatever you want to use with them, if you want to use the physical or the special attack. Landorus is the best of them. I believe Thundurus is probably the second best, and Tornadus is the third. We'll put this extra form of Tornadus here. This is a mistake. I'm not sure if this is a shiny form or what, but this is a mistake by whoever made the tier list. We also, in our legendary, are going to put the new Force of Nature in Enamorus, who I have not had a chance to play with that much. I'm going to go ahead and put her there. And is that all of our legendaries? Did I miss any of them? No, that is it. Okay, so now we have our Generation 5 and our other Pokemon. We're going to go ahead and throw this legendary tier all the way at the top here. All the way at the top, above our S tier. And I think we are going to go ahead and move Garchomp into this tier. Despite it not being a legendary Pokemon, it is better than the Lake Guardians. So, actually, without moving Garchomp up there, let's move the Lake Guardians down here. I think that's what we will do instead. Azelf, Mesprit, and Uxie in that order. Garchomp being better than them, we're going to leave them in S tier. And yeah, let's take out this. This is going to ruin our look here. Let's take out that extra form. There we go. So we have our legendary / mythical tier right up there at the top, S tier underneath that, and then A tier. Let's keep it rolling, guys. We are almost done. If you have been following along this whole time, you are a maniac. Another starter Pokemon, we know the drill. Starts in F tier. Dewott is going to go up into B tier. Or I'm sorry, not B tier, into D tier. A little bit better there. Samurott, I do think, is the best of the starters for this new region. Because of that dark typing, I think it's actually really, really good. Is it quite S tier? I think it might be S tier. We'll put it in S tier. Like I said, I think it is the best. Not by a whole lot, but yeah. Petalil, yeah. The Lilligant is going to be B tier. The Grass and Fighting combination is actually a really good combination. I'd say it's definitely better than Tangrowth and Abomasnow. And I'd probably put it above Weevil as well. Basculin, it's a fish. It's going to go down here with the other fish in F tier. Zorua and Zoroark are very, very interesting Pokemon. F tier for Zorua, as so many of these first evolutions have been. Right there with Eevee, I think. And Zoroark is going to be B tier for us. Normal Ghost is such an interesting combination. We'll put it up here with Dusknoir and Frostlass. I think that's pretty good. Rufflet, we're going to go ahead and put into our D tier, right at the bottom, I think, kind of around this level of Gible and Bronzor and Apom, Chatot, right? These Pokemon that are a little bit more respectable than the F tier ones, but still nothing, too crazy. Hisuian Braviary is going to be into B tier. Do we have any flying Pokemon in here? Yeah, it's right around that Honchkrow level, I think. I think these are two very similar Pokemon. It's just up to you whether you want Dark or Psychic. Bergmite. I really like that they gave Bergmite a new form. Or, well, I guess Bergmite didn't get a new form, but Avalugg did. But the fact that it's Ice Rock is not that great. So Bergmite can be an F tier. Avalugg, I think, is a C tier Pokemon. I think it's right around that level of Golem. Some people might like it better, but I think it's just so hard to make an Ice Rock Pokemon work. Goomy, coming up here. Goomy is a B tier Pokemon. Not B, I'm sorry. D tier Pokemon. Right there along with Gible. We'll go ahead and put Sliggoo, wherever I put Gabite. Where did I put Gabite? See? Yeah. And then we'll go ahead and put Goodra up in the S tier, because that's where it belongs. Goodra is one of the best Pokemon in the game. Probably is going to be better than Arcanine. I'll put it right underneath the Lake Trio. I mean, honestly, it's right there with the Lake Trio and Garchomp. What is Garchomp's base stat? You know what? It's a pseudo-legendary. It can go with Garchomp ahead of the Lake Trio. S-tier Pokemon for sure. And also, taking a look at this, Shaman could probably go down here. Shaman could probably go down there. At least Shaman land form. Yeah. Okay. Sylveon. Sylveon is, I think, in my opinion, the best evolution. Just because of its typing. We're just going to put it in B tier, though. And we have another starter, so Rowlet here in F tier. Dartrix with the other starters at the top of D tier. And Decidueye up here into A tier. Put it right next to Typhlosion. I think it is probably better than Typhlosion, but it's very, very close. Next we have Wordeer. Wordeer is going to be B tier. It's a psychic type, so I'm going to go ahead and put it next to Braviary. Cleaver. Cleaver, I think, is an A tier A tier Pokemon. Probably near the bottom of that A tier. It is, in my opinion, probably the best bug Pokemon in the game. Followed by its other form, Scizor. But I think Cleavor has a slightly higher base stat total, so I think it's pretty good. Sneasler is going to be into B tier, and we'll just put it next to Weevil. Overquill, B tier. It's a good fish. Dark and Poison type, though, we need to remember. So we'll put it here with Drapion. Basculegion. Let me check what ranked boost has for this one. Basculegion is a really good water Pokemon, actually. It has a 530 base stat total, which is really good. I think it does end up in A tier. Both forms of it. Doesn't really matter which one you use, competitively speaking. It's probably going to be around that same level as Warrain, just a step below the starters, the water starters. Well, I guess 2 steps below for like Samurott, but yeah. Next we have Ursa Luna, and yeah, this one is going to be A tier for us. We'll put it over here with the other ground types. And just to get this working, we'll put Shaman back up there, just so we have a nice tier list. That is complete. Most of the levels completely full. Wow. 82 minutes in. What do you guys think of the tier list? If you've skipped to this point and now see the tier list, what do you think? Should something be higher? Should something be lower? Is your team that you've played through a good team? Is it a bad team based on these rankings? What do you think of Pokemon Legends Arceus? When am I going to make another video? I don't know. I'm going to go take a nap. Thank you guys for watching. This has been the guy who makes random tier lists, and I'm signing off.